Well, greetings, everybody. I hope you have recovered from midwinter next gen or just the beginning of the year craziness. We're excited to be with you today. We're going to walk through a couple of things. And today I wanted to kind of just share a little bit about our registration and our leader preparation guide. Both of those resources you can find under our Unite section of Cov Youth under resources. And I strongly encourage you to read through it. We're not going to walk through it detail by detail, but they are a wealth of resources. So thank you to Jenny and Matt who put the leader prep guide together, and for the rest of the interim youth team too, who contributed, I'm sure, in many ways. But today we're going to talk about registration. It's coming fast. So early bird is March 1st. It's or the kind of the first payment as you register. There's a $85 non-refundable, but the early bird official deadline is May 1st. And that would get you at $485. And then past that, the rate goes up. You can check that out at the Cov Youth resource page, or you can go directly to covchurch.org/unite. The final payment is due on June 24th. And after that, if you're a procrastinator like me, or life just happens, when you register, the full amount will be due. So plan ahead, start talking to your team. But by May 1st, I believe it's $170 that will be non-refundable. And Eric, you can jump in if I'm saying anything incorrect. But I want to remind you that parents are not signing up kids. You, as the youth leader, are signing up your group. And so you'll go onto the registration and you'll create a group name. And there you'll be prompted with lots of different questions. We want to make sure you fill that out completely. And then it will prompt you for payment. Payment, there's a couple of different options that you can do. You can choose to mail in a check old school way to CIY, or you can pay through credit card, bill.com, which I believe there's a processing fee, so just pay attention to that, and then through ACH. Once that piece is completed, and make sure as you register for that you know where you're going. So make sure you determine whether you are Unite West or East, and then also make sure you know what conference you're affiliated with, because they'll want to have that information. After all of that is complete, you will get an email, and that email will give you a link for the medical release form. And that medical release form needs to be filled out by every single person. And so you will get a summary of your group, and so it'll indicate whether folks have filled that out or not. But in order to be on site at Unite West or East, they must have that completed. You will also get a group leader link, and that usually comes out a week post registration. And that will give you a summary of all your details. If you have any type of questions, or if there's a cancellation at any time, CIY has provided an email, serve@ciy.com, and they have provided a phone number to contact them with any registration questions. And then as far as payment goes, make sure that you write an accurate email, especially of whoever your point person is for all things registration. But you will get an email reminder from CIY reminding you of when payments are due. So try to stay on top of all of that. And then also, kind of going back to our leader preparation guide.
And real quick
Yes.
on that, make sure that when you register, you use an email address that you actually check.
Yeah.
That came out at our next gen breakout for Unite, like the CIY staff. So don't use a junk email. Make sure it's one that you or whoever's in charge of your group actually sees. So
Yeah.
you wanted
And
to
I run into this all the time with the ministerium too, is pastors will say, I didn't get an email. So make sure you check your junk or your spam folder to make sure that these email reminders are fresh in your email.
Yep.
And then,
yeah, the other thing is that email comes, you'll get a link that's unique to your group. And that is a link that you should not share with any other group for background check stuff. Otherwise, like Billy, your buddy Billy's, all his kids will be in your youth group's library, so to speak, of background checks. So don't share that link either. So
yeah.
Sure.
So that's the registration process. And if you, again, go onto our resource page, there's a step-by-step explanation. So if you have any questions, you can use that in a separate window to kind of look as you're registering. I want to just point you again to our leader preparation guide, which is also in our resource folder. But this is a great tool that our leaders have put together for you. This resource is here to prepare you on what it means to bring our COV youth students to Unite this summer. We have an incredible opportunity to gather together as the body of Christ, to worship together, to have fun, to build connections, to resource and empower these youth right now. And so we want to make sure you as a leader, you as the youth pastors, are preparing your hearts and minds for what it means to come together. And so this leader guide is a great resource. It reminds you of what your role is as a leader, but also reminds you of who we are as a covenant youth family. And so there's great articles in there, just kind of giving you a history of what was formerly known as CHIC and is now Unite, and what it means to come together. It kind of brings us back to our why, right? We can get bogged down by all the details and logistics and, even our own personal preferences or things not going right. But I think if we turn to the heart of why we're coming together, that changes our mindset, right? And so pay attention to this resource. There's great resources on covenant identity. And then there's a great 4-week curriculum that you could go through with your youth group. And you don't just have to go through it with just Unite people. You could do it with your whole entire youth group. There's some great resources within it, and you certainly can adapt it to your context. And then there's some great leader tips. So I know I've been going to Unite and CHIC for years, but I always need new tricks in my belt. And so use this as a way to kind of prepare yourself. So take a look at that. If you have any questions, let us know. And Ginny just dropped the link in there so you can find it right away.
Yep,
I think that's it.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you. And those things came out at Next Gen Conference as well. So if you were there, you got to kind of get that little insight into that. We walked through some of those things. We want to make sure that you're on the call, you weren't at Next Gen, that you're able to have those resources. And really appreciate CIY, especially for putting together that registration guide. They did a phenomenal job. It's really well done. So, and it's click by click, like screenshot by screenshot. Mm-hmm. So it's really easy to follow. And then, as Ruby said,
I forgot one big important thing is that the biggest piece of this leader preparation guide is just making sure you get through your background check. We want to make sure that Unite is a safe environment for all students and leaders. And so it's really important that you get that done, as well as there's a training that will be required for all of us. And making a safe environment to be together. And so make sure you check that out. And you also will be prompted through your registration, I believe, to show you.
Yep.
And then Ruby, that's one little detail for those going to Unite West. There is another hurdle when it comes to fingerprinting as well. So that is a California mandate. So when you register your group and you do the leaders, there'll be a prompt and a reminder that is sent to you about when to get that done, how to get that done. So CIY is eagerly reminding me to make sure that's communicated for our Unite West churches, so they know it is something that is also they have to do. So,
yeah, right on. Cool. Okay, sounds good. And then we're get to some Q&A here at the end. But so Eric, I want to invite you to talk a little bit about some transportation stuff. You've got
absolutely
there, so let us know what's happening.
Yep. So I want to talk to people both sites, Unite West and Unite East, about what it looks like to get from what we're planning to get from the airport to the university, and some of those like logistics that are going to be communicated to you, and how to sign up for coming up. Specifically, there will be a separate sign up form for Unite East, and I'll explain that in a moment. But Unite West, the nice thing is at Unite West, there is a pretty seamless transportation from the airport via public transit to the university. And it's about $5 a person both ways. So you take a bus to a tram goes right to the university. Our CIY leadership just had a youth pastor conference in San Diego, and they all did it and said, you know what, it is very feasible for groups, even though you're carrying luggage, to take that as an option. And we will make sure those logistics are ready for you. The details, like what tram do I go, what number, when does it come, and where do I go for the bus, to make sure we'll have all those to you posted in advance for our Unite West folks who are flying into San Diego and then trying to wonder, how do I get from the airport to the university? That is probably your best bet, I would say, when it comes to you and your group, and most affordable. So with Unite East, we're working with two different transportation companies, and we're going to have a registration process to work on when Unite East folks are flying into Detroit, specifically Detroit International Airport, GTW, to figure out when your flight and capacity, and working with the transportation companies to kind of like make sure we can have like a cycle and system of buses going from the airport to university, and having sort of a loop going. But we will say it'll roughly cost about $25 a person per way, just so you know. So it's about a 75-minute ride. The Uber per person is about $100 from the airport to the university. We don't think that's very feasible for a group with luggage. So we're going to have like a sign-up process, and then we are going to work on having people on both ends, working on flight patterns, times of arrival, also group sizes to help coordinate with you. So when you arrive as a youth leader, you will actually we'll have a point person at the airport and at the university that meets you and helps you point in the right direction. So you don't land with your group and you're like, oh my gosh, where do I go when? We'll have identified people and staff to help you with that process, because you already got a lot on your plate when it comes to leading your group and leaders. And we want to do our end, what we can on our end, to make that next leg of the trip seamless for you. So you'll be hearing more information from Jordan and I when it comes to how we're going to collect that information from you, so we know your flight times, capacity, as far as how many volunteers and students your group's bringing, so we can logistically organize. But right now, the pricing we have is about $25 a person both ways. So I think we're pretty encouraged by that for an hour 15, hour 20 ride with everyone's luggage both for one way. So with these companies. So I remember when my first time going to Chick as a leader, we flew into Atlanta and had to actually get a whole charter bus, and that was really expensive. So like Jordan just said, it's $25 per person per direction. So we're excited about that. And so there'll be more details to come when it comes to how we do the process of registration, meaning we collect your information, flight patterns, again, capacity of the group, so we can make sure we help you on the logistical side. So it's something that you don't necessarily have to worry about.
Right on.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's super cool. Thanks for all your work on that. I know it's been asked a lot, and that people bugging you, and so I'm glad that there's some info there for you. So I appreciate you guys making that happen. So, yep, exactly. So nice. Okay. I think Eric, did you have, was that kind of the core of what you want to share? Do you have any other updates for us for the
No, that's what, I just want to make sure that like the transportation, I know it's a lot of people right now when it comes to like finances and like how are we getting from airport to university. That's kind of on everyone's budgetary like horizon and radar. So I want to make sure that was articulated so that this group can hear that and know that the process and the links will be coming in the coming weeks here, so that we'll get that to everybody. So when it comes to specifically Unite East, the how to get from the airport to Bowling Green University as well. Perfect. We're also planning on setting up a system for Unite West, helping people get from the airport, having point people there to point them in the right direction. Again, we want to make sure we can make that process for you, take the anxiety away, the worry away, because once you land, get your luggage, you can we have people that can help shepherd you to start off a Unite with an incredible experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. Right on. Okay, sounds good. Well, let's jump into some Q&A. And I think I'm seeing a few things come in to the chat already. So this is the time, if you've got questions, go ahead and start dropping them in the chat. The first question is from Kristen. She wrote, I was prompted, but I didn't see a place about the training or background check. It asked if we had one, but I didn't see a place on how to do it. Do we just say if we've had a background check, or do we have to do a specific one for this event?
Great question. So when it comes to this event, it's that if you've done a background check as your church prior with your leaders who are going, we just need to make sure you have that information available if it is asked to be provided. So that is kind of already utilizing the background checks that have been done. So when it comes to, if need be, that's just make sure you're able to provide that information.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, if you look at the leader prep guide, it explains the background checks. A lot of people use Ministry Safe, which is a really easy background check tool. And then as far as training goes, there's also the links in that document as well.
Yeah, great. And then the only other step with that background check piece is if you're going to Unite West, you got to do the fingerprint part. So yeah. So, and that's also in that document. Yep. So then the next question I'm seeing is what's the ratio of leaders to students that is required?
Yep. And Jordan answered that 10 students to 1 leader, gender specific. Yep.
Yep. So if you have, let's clarify, because sometimes I get this question with like my retreats and stuff. So if you have nine male students and 1 female student, like you still have to send a female leader and a male leader. You know what I mean? Because you need one female leader for that 1 female student. You can't just have 1 male leader for whatever gender, you know what I mean? So just to clarify, I know Eric or Jordan kind of said that, but just to make sure, if you have at 1 or more of a gender, you need to send a leader that matches. So yeah, cool. All right, and then another question is there? Are we required to bring a certain number of volunteers? No, I don't think so, right? Just as long as you meet the ratio, you're good to go. Yeah, great. I would, best practice for me, just as having done this, I always bring at least 1, if not 2 more leaders than I think I need, because this is a week-long event. And if I get sick or get hurt, or one of my other leaders gets sick or hurt, all of a sudden your ratio is really stretched. If somebody ends up in the hospital or down for the count with a cold or whatever, that way you're still able to lead well in the midst of the event. So I would encourage bringing 1 or 2 extra adults if possible. So, and then the next question is there any bands, info on speakers, bands, etc.? We haven't had youth attend since 2015, so it's tough getting them excited about learning more about what's going on.
Yeah. So a couple things I'll say about that. One, we've been securing speakers and have made for both sites and made great progress in that. So once we have all the slates locked in, we will have a release to everybody that we feel comfortable making sure that both sites, we have the full slate of speakers that we can make sure we communicate, that you can tell your students about. And bands are a little bit different this year. Just historically speaking, like we've had some like main stage, big bands that we spent a lot of resources on. Something I want to emphasize about this Unite, and please hear my heart in this. We believe this Unite is going to be a heightened, better, not better. The experience is going to be more important than the band. And I think having a generation of students that like look to each other, to encourage each other, to equip one another, to build those relationships. We think we're really creating with CIY and these teams a dynamic program. And what we're going to see from main stage is going to be amazing, super high quality. It's going to be incredible moments of surprise and delight. But as far as investing those resources, we want to make this event as most affordable as possible. So spending some of that price point and those big names, though really cool, we're trying to make sure we can reach as many students as possible. And also we want to highlight like the overall Unite experience is something that it's going to be enriching that our students won't want to miss. And I think through some of our promotional videos that have been put out, and I think we are would love for you to utilize those. That we can see like what's it like to experience, like what's this sort of regional expression of Unite will look like. I encourage you to download those, and I have other ones too that we're working on the hopper. You can just email me. We can also put those in the Cov Youth. We have all the promotional social media stuff, graphics and everything to help kind of like move the needle and help, get those families and students on board. But I think the experience where students will be able to see one another and experience the Holy Spirit moving in a profound way at two locations at the same time. I think that experience is something that we're really heavily leaning on. And CIY, in their experience, they've tried to go the big band route, but they've seen how the investing in the overall on-site holistic experience is what really is impactful. And it's hard to quantify that when sometimes we haven't had students, have been there since 2015. But anything we can do on our end to help really build more momentum for you, please let us know. Like we are listening, and we want to resource you as best as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Amen. There's another question. Just any updates on scholarships? And obviously that's still in process, but
yes.
Yeah. So
Yep.
Still in process. That's where we're at. Yeah.
Yep. Still in process. We're working on it and hope to have an update here in the near future.
Mm-hmm. Cool. How similar is this year to 2 years ago in terms of structure? Is it a morning and evening session, and do they look similar? I would say I can answer that. We actually have on the Unite area of Kahoot.com, Sarah, we have the schedule posted, like a day in the life. It was actually one of our previous webinars. But Eric, you were at Unite West, so you could speak more directly, and maybe Ruby too. I'm not sure. So.
Yeah, I got to be part of Unite North and Unite West, and I'm working. Part of the hat I'm wearing is working with CIY when it comes to like how does the programming feel throughout the day. And so sort of how I like to say it is like the day is going to kind of crescendo. It's kind of like the phrase I like to use. So they have an opportunity for students early on before the main session. There'll be 2 sessions, morning and evening. Morning will be a little bit shorter. There'll be time to gather for prayer ahead of time if students want to come and gather to pray for one another. And then when we get to the morning session, it'll be sort of like a morning devotional with worship. And then also with our campus pastors at both locations will share a devotion that kind of sets up the youth group time. And then it leads into lunch and the afternoon activities, and then kind of leads into a larger sort of historical big main stage session. So you can kind of see like the crescendo kind of arc the day takes there. So that's kind of what it feels like. That's a very high level brief, Sarah, of how the day kind of feels. But that's sort of what it'll look like.
Yeah, and that gets to Tanya's question. Will there be music and worship? Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, we're contracting. Yeah, bringing in worship teams and things like that. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so then the next question that I'm seeing is kind of a big picture question, future question from Katie. As we think about future youth rhythms of ministry, is there a hope for Unite to happen every 2 or 3 years, or do we know that yet?
Yeah, that is the $1 million question that we are right now. We are committed to walking through this Unite and then kind of evaluate and see how did God move? What did we learn? What are the resources we want to sort of like recognize, the church rhythms, the youth pastor rhythms, what's helpful? And then what does a really solid strategy look like going forward? Mm-hmm. And so kind of thinking through not only youth ministry rhythms, covenant rhythms, denomination-wide rhythms, kind of figuring out what that looks like. But we are committed to saying like we're looking at all of our energy at 2024 right now, and then saying, evaluating, asking questions, measuring everything as best we can. And then, we'll gather a team, prayerfully gather a team to kind of decide, like, do you want to do this in 2 years? Do you want to do this in 3 years? What's feasible for the local church, the local youth worker, the bivocational youth worker, the volunteer youth worker, and going forward. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that invitation to pray. And so I would just encourage our youth workers who are listening to have regular rhythms, to be praying over this event, but especially over our Cov events team and our interim youth team and MDD as they discern future stuff with Unite. It's a big undertaking, and we're excited about this opportunity and just the possibilities that are to come out of this event. And so, yeah, we would love your continued prayer, and invite your kids to be praying too, because the more the better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Yep, absolutely. The next question I'm seeing is related to excursions. And so big question, will there be excursions? And someone, there's been talk about maybe Cedar Point for Unite East. And so anyway, what's the news on, or what's the plan for that, I should say?
Yeah, so I've posted, I think, previously, and maybe said in another webinar, sort of within the Monday through Friday, we're not doing sort of offsite excursions and really investing really in the on-campus experience. One, we know it's another added cost for certain churches, it's something that they have to figure out. But also, we really believe in what this on-campus experience is going to look like this year at both sites. People have asked, what about pre-Unite and post-Unite? And so there are ways that there's opportunities. You can stay a night early or stay a night late. And if you want to go ride as many roller coasters at Cedar Point, I did as a high school kid and college kid. I love that theme park. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, so, and I would say too, I love what Jeannie just said, Cheryl from the Northwest Conference office did a lot of research. And so there's details. So I would also contact your conference, either coach or office. A lot of those people are in those same conversations with other churches that can help, sort of cross-pollinate planning and information when it comes to some of those extra activities that people might be looking to, to take advantage of.
Yeah. And just in case someone here isn't aware, the programming on Monday doesn't start until mid-afternoon, roughly, right? And so you've got time. If you're not traveling Monday, if you come in a day early, then you can have that Monday morning time frame. Or stay a day later and have Friday after the programming ends about noon. So maybe just a little before noon, so you can have programming or have your own activity then, or work out some other thing. But so there's some opportunities in the schedule for you to do your thing with your group. So cool. Let's see. Not seeing any other new questions. So if anyone's on the chat or anyone's got a question that's burning, let's get those in there. So the next question you guys popped in, can we stay at Bowling Green Sunday night? Can you arrive early, and what are the logistics with that?
Yeah, so we can arrive a day early at both sites. Yep. And so that's something you'll work with us on, letting us know. And so we'll work on with that payment when it comes to the university and whatnot. So once you have those travel plans kind of solidified, we will start working with you and those groups. We just want to make sure that your group is registered, so we know how many spots we're looking at, so we can start working on that process as well. Yes. So both universities, before and after, you can stay.
Is there a process for that yet? So I register my group, and then is there a way I click a button and say I want to come earlier, or is that developed yet? Or not?
Button there yet for that part of the process. So what we're kind of focusing right now is groups that we want to get everyone registered, get that their deposits in, and then start to layer out, hey, if you are staying a day early or a day late, follow this link, click this button, and then that'll be something that we handle as an events team to help you. Same sort of thing with the transportation at both sites. So
perfect.
Specifically Unite East when it comes to the busing.
Yep. Great. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Any other questions burning out there? I would say, while we're waiting for maybe some more questions to come in, we had a great time at the Next Gen conference in Chicago this year. And I just want to say, you got to be there next year if you weren't there this year. You got to send somebody from your church. It's in Denver this next year, so it's not freezing cold Chicago. And there still is a Giordano's down the street. So if it's still there, I assume it's still there. So you can go to Denver and get Chicago style pizza, a little warmer maybe. So anyway, just a heads up for you. The dates are January 18 to 20, and Eric gave me permission to say that. So mark your calendars now to be there with us in Denver this coming January for the Next Gen conference, and we'll have a great Unite celebration, I'm sure, and but also just a great time of connecting with one another and resourcing and things like that. So make sure you put that on your calendar. So all right, so if you've got more questions about Unite, go ahead and throw them in the chat. And while we're working on that, we're waiting on some of those questions to come in. We've got a few things to update you on. So the next Unite webinar is coming up in March. And here's the deal. I didn't update the date on this, so I don't have it in my notes.
I see the form you're looking at here, Jim.
October. Oh. Yeah, that's not correct. It is not in October. It is in March, and I will look quickly. March 14th. So you can mark your calendars for that, March 14th, and we'll have the next round of updates for you on Unite. Let's see. What else do we need to talk about, Ruby? Are you looking at the notes there?
No, I'm not actually.
All right, I'll go for it.
I was going to say, kind of going back to some of these questions, don't forget to tap into your Unite coaches.
Mm-hmm.
These are your coaches and your regional conferences. And if you're just having trouble troubleshooting, some of these things, thinking around scholarships or transportation, or just feeling like you need to partner with another church, they are a great resource to help you brainstorm all things. So don't forget to utilize them too in the in-between times of these webinars as well.
Yeah, right on. And yeah, it looks like we had a transportation question come in. So Eric, about transportation in San Diego.
Yep, it is public transportation, Sarah. So like the $5 having cash with you or card when you get there. But again, our hope is to have a identified liaison sort of volunteer. So when you arrive, those details of who that will be communicated to you for those who are flying into San Diego Airport and trying to want to navigate going from airport to the university.
Yep. So you can rent your own van or do your own thing, but that'll be a lot more expensive. And yeah, this will be cheaper. So. Okay. The next thing we want to let you know about coming up is that we have our next Cov Youth 101 webinar, and our topic is communication strategies that work. So make sure you tune in, and that will be February 22nd at 1 p.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Mountain, 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. East Coast. And I hope I did that the right direction across the screen. So I'm going to drop the link in for that, so you can go ahead and find that right now and RSVP, and it should definitely give you a reminder that way. So, so make sure you're prepared for that. And then a lot of the, make sure you check out the previous webinars for Unite that we've done if you haven't been able to tune into those yet. And we'll get this one, it's being recorded. We'll get this one dropped, edited and dropped in hopefully later today, if not tomorrow at the latest. So I think that is it. If there's no other questions, which I'm not seeing any other questions so far in the chat. So, yeah, I think that's it. So, y'all have a great day. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Happy Valentine's Day, guys, next week.
Yeah, exactly. Happy Valentine's Day.
All right. Bye, y'all.
All right. Have a great day, guys. Yeah. God bless.